Why was a tiny elephant calf standing alone in the heart of Madagascar's dark forest? Where was its herd? And why were a group of fossas, Madagascar's most feared predators, circling it with eyes full of hunger and confusion? The night was thick, heavy with the sound of crickets and the whisper of danger. Moonlight slipped through the tangled branches, falling on the trembling body of a baby elephant barely a few months old. Its small trunk moved nervously, trying to sense safety, but all it could smell was fear and the strange musk of predators closing in. The fossas moved silently, their sleek brown bodies blending with the shadows. They weren't used to seeing elephants, especially not one so young. Hunger had driven them closer. Their eyes glowed amber, reflecting the light like sparks in the dark. The baby elephant took a step back, letting out a broken cry that echoed through the trees. It didn't know which direction to run. Every path smelled of danger. Miles away, a wildlife rescue team had set up camp near the forest's edge. They were tracking signs of illegal animal activity, traps, gunfire sounds, and missing species. A sudden sound came through their thermal camera feed, a large, warm figure surrounded by several smaller moving dots. The team leader, Aiden, leaned forward. "That's not possible," he muttered. "An elephant here?" Elephants weren't supposed to be in Madagascar. There hadn't been one sighted in decades, yet the screen showed movement, real, desperate movement. The rescuers had seconds to decide. Aiden grabbed his flashlight, loaded the tranquilizer rifle, and called out to his teammate Lara. "Gear up! Something's wrong out there." Back in the forest, the baby elephant stumbled. One of the fossas hissed, baring its sharp teeth. Another darted forward, testing the calf's reaction. The baby let out a terrified trumpet, shaking the air with panic. The sound startled even the predators for a moment, but only for a moment. The forest grew tense again, holding its breath. The baby's eyes shimmered with tears and moonlight. It looked around, as if hoping its mother would suddenly appear from the shadows. But there was only silence, then came a faint beam of light cutting through the trees. Footsteps, human ones. The fossas froze, their instincts kicking in. They backed away slowly, melting back into the dark. The baby elephant's ears twitched at the sound of voices. Aiden whispered, "There it is." "God, it's so small," Lara whispered back. "How did it even get here?" "Doesn't matter. If we don't move fast, it won't survive till dawn." The rescuers approached slowly. The elephant took a step back, trumpeting again, scared and confused. Aiden lowered his weapon and crouched low, keeping his voice calm. "It's okay, little one. We're not here to hurt you." The forest seemed to quiet down, as if listening to the man's words. The calf sniffed the air, unsure. A distant growl reminded everyone that the fossas were still nearby, waiting, watching. Lara placed a flashlight on the ground, letting its warm glow spread softly. She took out a piece of fruit from her bag and rolled it toward the elephant. The calf hesitated, then took one small step forward. Its trunk reached out, touching the fruit and then pulling it closer. For the first time that night, there was a tiny sound of trust, a faint rumble from the baby's chest. But Aiden's radio crackled. "Movement detected. Multiple heat signals. Closing in from the north." He froze. "The fossas?" he asked. "No," the voice replied. "Bigger than fossas." "You need to see this." Aiden looked toward the dark tree line. Something was moving there, slow, heavy, deliberate. The trees shook slightly as shadows shifted. Lara whispered, "What is that?" Aiden didn't answer. He just lifted his flashlight, his heart pounding. Whatever it wasn't alone. The baby elephant stepped closer to him, trembling again, as if sensing what was coming, and deep in the forest. Two glowing eyes blinked. Too high to be a fossa, too steady to be a simple predator. Something was watching them all. The beam of Aiden's flashlight quivered slightly as his pulse raced. The forest, moments ago silent except for the elephant calf's trembling breaths, now felt alive again, but not in the comforting way. The air grew thick, the kind of stillness that came before something dangerous moved. The tall grasses rustled softly. Something large was out there. Something that shouldn't be. Lara took a step closer to Aiden, lowering her voice. "Do you think it's the herd? Maybe the calf's mother?" Aiden didn't answer immediately. His instincts as a rescuer told him to hope, but years of experience whispered something darker. He had seen too many nights like this, where hope and danger wore the same mask. He raised the radio again, trying to get a clearer response. "Base, repeat your last message. What size are those heat signatures?" Static, then a faint voice. "Unclear, but it's moving fast and—" "Aiden, there's something else. There's a second group coming from the west." He looked at Lara. "We're surrounded." The baby elephant, unaware of the radio chatter, let out a soft trumpet and pressed closer to the rescuers. Its skin quivered under the flashlight's glow, and its small eyes darted between the shadows. "Okay," Aiden said quietly, thinking aloud. "We stay calm. We move slow. The last thing we want is to startle whatever's out there." They began backing up, keeping the calf between them. The forest floor crackled beneath their boots. Every sound seemed louder than it should be. Somewhere in the distance a branch snapped. Lara whispered, "That was no fossa." Aiden nodded. "Too heavy." Suddenly a low rumble echoed through the forest. Not a growl, not thunder. Something deeper, a call. The kind of sound that vibrated through bone. The elephant calf froze, trunk lifted high. "Wait," Lara said, her eyes wide. "That's an elephant call." Aiden's heartbeat quickened. "You're sure?" "Positive. It's calling out for her." A spark of hope lit in his chest. If there was another elephant nearby, the calf's mother might still be alive. But before he could say anything, the radio hissed again. "Aiden, we're picking up movement on thermal. North groups splitting. You've got about 5 or 6 large shapes, maybe more. They're not elephants." The signal cut off. Lara gripped his arm. "We need to move. Now." They started walking quickly, guiding the baby elephant with slow hand motions. The little one followed, still scared, but beginning to trust them. The forest floor was uneven, full of tangled roots and slippery leaves. The flashlight's beam swayed, catching glimpses of glowing eyes in the dark. Fossas again, moving in parallel. Dozens of them, silent as ghosts, Aiden whispered. "They're watching us. Too many of them," Lara muttered. "I've never seen this many together. Fossas are solitary. Why are they grouping like this?" That question hung heavy in the air. Fossas didn't hunt in packs, not like wolves or lions. Something was off. Something was driving them. Fear, hunger, or maybe something even worse. Then came another sound. Distant footsteps, heavy, slow, rhythmic, not running, approaching. Aiden raised his light, scanning the trees. The beam caught a glimpse of something massive. Grey skin, wrinkled texture, a tusk glinting faintly in the beam. "Lara," he said softly. "I think that's—" Before he could finish, a loud roar shattered the air. Not from an elephant, not from a fossa. It was something primal, angry and unfamiliar. The baby elephant trumpeted in fear, pressing against Aiden's side. "Run!" Lara shouted. They stumbled through the underbrush, the calf following, clumsy but desperate. Branches tore at their clothes. Behind them, the forest erupted with snarls and crashing noises. Aiden could hear Fossas screaming, high-pitched. Terrified sounds, whatever was in the forest. Even the predators were afraid of it. They reached a small clearing, the moon spilling silver light across the open space. The baby elephant stopped in the center, trembling and confused. Aiden turned back, rifle raised, scanning the tree line. Nothing, just shadows. And then, slowly, a figure stepped out. It was enormous, taller than any man, broader than any fossa. For a split second, the light caught its outline, and Aiden's breath caught. An elephant, a fully grown adult, but something was wrong. Its skin was scarred, streaked with mud and dried blood. One tusk was broken, and its eyes burned with confusion and rage. Lara whispered, "Is that the mother?" The baby elephant cried out, running toward it. The adult froze, ears flaring wide. For a heartbeat, time stopped. Then instead of greeting its calf, the adult let out a thunderous roar and charged. Aiden shouted, "Back! Move back!" The mother elephant wasn't recognizing her calf. It was panicking. Something had broken its trust, twisted its instincts. Aiden grabbed Lara's arm, pulling her away as the ground shook beneath them. The baby stopped in confusion, crying, unable to understand why its mother wasn't embracing it. Aidan fired a tranquilizer dart, but the shot missed, grazing a tree. The elephant turned toward him, trunk raised, trumpeting in fury. Lara screamed, "Don't shoot again! You'll make it worse!" But before Aidan could decide, another sound echoed, the growls of Fossas closing in again from behind. They were everywhere now, encircling the clearing, eyes glinting like embers. The rescuers were trapped between a raging mother and dozens of predators. Aidan's mind raced. "Lara, smoke grenade, now!" She grabbed the small canister from her pack, yanked the pin, and threw it toward the Fossas. A burst of thick white smoke spread across the clearing. The animals hissed and scattered, disappearing into the mist. Aidan moved fast, guiding the baby elephant away from its enraged mother. "We'll come back for her. She's not safe to approach right now." They ran, half-blind through the haze, guided only by instinct and the faint blinking of the tracking beacon on Aidan's vest. After several minutes, the forest began to thin, and they reached a narrow riverbank. The moonlight shimmered across the water, and the baby elephant collapsed, exhausted. Lara knelt beside it, brushing its head gently. "It's okay, sweetheart. You're safe now." Aidan looked back toward the forest, the distant echoes of trumpeting and growling fading slowly. Safe for now. He sank to his knees, breathing hard. His mind kept replaying the sight of the adult elephant, the rage in her eyes, the scars across her skin. Something had happened to her, something unnatural. He turned to Lara. "Did you see those scars? The rope marks. She's been tied before. Someone had her captive." Lara nodded, frowning. "But who? There aren't supposed to be elephants in Madagascar at all. How did she even get here?" Aidan's face hardened. "Someone brought them here. Maybe for illegal trade. Maybe for experiments. Whatever it was. They lost control." The baby elephant let out a soft, weary rumble. Its eyes were half closed, trunk curled against the ground. Lara sighed. "We need to report this. If there's one elephant, there could be more." Aidan didn't reply. He was staring at the trees again. Something about the way the forest swayed didn't feel natural. The shadows were moving, but there was no wind. Then he heard it, a faint hum, mechanical, rhythmic. Not an animal sound. "Machines," he whispered. "Do you hear that?" Lara tilted her head. "Engines? Drones?" Aidan nodded grimly. "They're tracking something. Maybe us." He turned off his flashlight immediately, gesturing for silence. The faint red lights of drones passed above the treetops, scanning the area with invisible beams. The baby elephant stirred, letting out a tiny cry. Aidan placed a gentle hand on its trunk. "Shh! Stay quiet." One of the drones paused mid-air, its sensors focusing downward. Lara's heart skipped. "They've seen us." Aidan grabbed the tranquilizer rifle, aimed, and fired. The dart struck the drone's wing. It spun wildly and crashed into the river with a splash. But two more appeared immediately, blinking red. Aidan cursed under his breath. "We have to move again." They followed the river downstream, the baby elephant trudging weakly beside them. The moon had started to sink lower, and a pale mist rolled over the water. Every step echoed softly, the sound blending with the distant calls of night creatures. After what felt like hours, they reached a rocky ridge where the forest ended in a steep drop. Below lay a hidden valley, a wide open space bathed in moonlight, with broken cages, rusted fences, and empty metal containers scattered everywhere. Lara's breath caught. Oh my God! This was a holding site. Dozens of tracks marked the muddy ground, animal tracks, tire marks, and heavy boot prints. The air smelled of fuel and decay. In the middle of it all stood an old, half-collapsed cage, big enough to hold an adult elephant. Aidan knelt beside it, touching the bent bars. This is where they kept her. The mother. She must have escaped. Lara looked around. Then where are they now? The people who did this? Before Aidan could answer, the radio crackled again. A broken voice came through, barely audible. "Aidan, if you can hear me, they know you have the calf. Get out. They're coming for it." The signal died. Aidan stood up, scanning the ridge. His jaw tightened. "We're not leaving her here. We're taking her to the coast, to the sanctuary." Lara looked at the baby elephant, who was trying to stand again, its tiny legs shaking. "She won't make it that far unless we rest." Aiden hesitated, then nodded. "We'll camp here till dawn, but we keep watch." He built a small fire, careful to shield the light. The forest around them glowed faintly in the mist. The baby elephant lay near the warmth, its eyes fluttering shut. For the first time it looked peaceful. Lara watched it quietly. "Do you think the mother will find us?" Aiden looked into the flames. "I think someone else will, before she does." And somewhere in the distance beyond the valley, a metallic door creaked open. A flashlight beam swept across the ruins. Then a man's voice echoed through the night. "Find the calf. Bring it back alive." The forest, once silent, began to whisper again. The command echoed through the valley like a knife slicing through the mist. "Find the calf. Bring it back alive." Aiden and Lara froze near the dying campfire. The baby elephant stirred, trunk twitching at the strange voice. Aiden quickly rubbed dirt over the flames, smothering the light until only smoke rose. Darkness swallowed them again. They crouched low behind a pile of rusted cages. Down below, flashlight beams were moving like restless fireflies. Men, 5 or 6 of them, walked cautiously through the ruins, rifles slung over their shoulders. Their boots crushed the old mud tracks Aiden had studied moments ago. Lara whispered, "How did they find us so fast?" Aiden's jaw clenched. Those drones weren't random. They were tracking her. He looked at the baby elephant. "They want her back." The little one shifted closer, pressing its head softly against his shoulder, unaware of the danger closing in. From the ridge's edge, they watched the men spread out. One of them bent near the broken cage, examining the bent bars. "It was here," he said, "and it's not alone. Look, human tracks." Another replied coldly. "Then we're not far behind," Aiden whispered. "They're ex-military." "Look how they move," Lara frowned. "If they were keeping elephants here, this isn't some small poaching ring. It's organized." Below, one of the men raised a thermal scope, scanning the ridge. Aiden ducked instantly. A red laser dot swept across the rocks, missing them by inches. "They've got heat sensors," he said. "We need to move before sunrise," Lara nodded. "South side of the valley leads to the river again. If we follow it, we can reach the cliffs. There's a ranger outpost beyond that." Aiden turned to the baby elephant. "Come on, sweetheart." Quiet steps. They started down the opposite slope, keeping low. The forest was darker here, the air damp and cold. The smell of fuel from the camp below mixed with the earthy scent of rain. Every step had to be deliberate. Every sound could mean discovery. Halfway down, they heard the faint crack of a branch above them. Aiden froze, motioning to Lara. The flashlight beams had changed direction. Someone was climbing up after them. He pulled out his tranquilizer rifle, checking the chamber. "If they get too close, we shoot and run." But before he could lift the weapon, a shadow appeared between the trees, tall, broad, moving slowly. Not a man, the mother elephant. Her massive frame loomed like a mountain against the dark. Her one good tusk glinted faintly as she stepped into the faint light filtering through the leaves. She wasn't charging this time. She was watching, studying. The baby elephant froze, then let out a low, uncertain rumble. Lara whispered, "She followed us." Aiden didn't move. Maybe she realized we're not a threat. The mother's ears flared, trunk lifting as she smelled the air. Her eyes locked on the calf, and then on the humans standing protectively beside it. There was confusion there, but also something gentler this time, like recognition fighting its way through fear. The baby took one trembling step forward. The mother let out a soft sound, a deep note that rolled through the trees. Aiden felt it more than heard it. The calf answered with a high, pleading trumpet. For a few heartbeats, nothing else existed. The danger, the hunters, the fear, all drowned beneath the quiet reunion of two beings who had been torn apart. But then a gunshot cracked through the night. The bullet hit a tree beside the elephant with a sharp thud of bark exploding. The mother roared, fury flooding back. The men below had spotted movement. Aiden shouted, "Go! Move!" The forest erupted into chaos. The mother elephant charged down the slope, trumpeting wildly. The hunters shouted orders, scattering. Two of them fired again, their gunfire flashing in the darkness. Aiden grabbed Lara's hand and pulled her behind a fallen log. The baby elephant stumbled after them, frightened but following. Bullets tore through leaves. Sparks flew from the metal cage debris nearby. The air filled with smoke and the raw sound of rage and panic. The mother elephant reached the valley floor in seconds. With terrifying power, she swung her trunk, knocking one of the men into the mud. Another tried to aim, but she charged again, tusk ramming the ground beside him, sending him flying. "Go!" Aiden yelled to Lara. "She's buying us time." They ran along the ridge, staying low, until they reached a narrow trail that led toward the southern riverbank. The baby elephant followed close, tripping once but quickly catching up. Behind them, the sounds of battle echoed through the night, the deep trumpets, the shouts, the breaking of trees. After several minutes, they stopped to catch their breath near a line of fallen rocks. Lara's chest heaved. "She's fighting for us," Aiden nodded grimly. "For her calf. She doesn't even know she's saving us too." The baby elephant leaned against him again, trembling from exhaustion. Its eyes, wide and full of fear, looked back toward the forest as if wanting to return. Aiden placed a hand on its head. "We'll go back for her. I promise." But even as he said it, he knew promises meant little in a jungle like this. The first light of dawn began to bleed across the horizon. Mist floated above the river like ghosts. They followed its curve, moving eastward. The path grew steeper, slippery with moss. At the base of a giant fig tree, Aiden found an old sign half buried in mud. "Project Ankarana, Research Facility." The paint had faded, but the letters were still clear enough. Lara brushed dirt from it. Project Ankarana. "I've heard of that. It was shut down years ago. Genetic wildlife study, supposedly harmless." Aiden frowned. "Supposedly." He looked back at the valley. Maybe that's where the elephants came from. Maybe they were part of some experiment. A sudden noise broke their thoughts. A man's scream, faint but unmistakable, coming from the direction they'd fled. Then silence. Lara whispered, "Do you think—" "She killed them?" Aiden shook his head slowly. "Or something else did." They didn't speak again for a long while. The jungle seemed to change with daylight. Shadows turned to colors. Birds began to sing cautiously. But the peace felt wrong, like a quiet after a storm that hadn't really passed. Hours later, they reached a shallow river crossing. Aiden waded in first, checking the current. It was cold and clear, flowing toward the open plains. On the other side, a dirt track led upward, faint tire marks visible in the mud. "That road could lead to the outpost," Lara said, "or straight into another trap." Aiden replied, "We'll take it anyway. Staying here isn't safer." They crossed together, helping the calf along. Halfway through, the elephant slipped, crying out as it fell sideways. Aiden caught its trunk, pulling hard until it found footing again. When they finally reached the far bank, all three of them were soaked and shivering. Aiden collapsed to the ground, breathing heavily. "We need food, water, rest." Lara handed him a canteen. "One step at a time." The baby elephant nuzzled her backpack, sniffing curiously. She smiled faintly. "At least someone's still got energy." Aiden leaned back against a tree. "She's tougher than she looks." He closed his eyes for a moment, but then a faint metallic click echoed nearby. Not from their gear. His eyes snapped open. A small camera lens, half buried in the tree bark, blinked red. "Damn it," he muttered, smashing it with a rock. "They've got surveillance all over this forest." Lara's expression darkened. "Then this isn't a rescue mission anymore. It's survival." The baby elephant raised its trunk, letting out a low, uneasy rumble. Aiden stood up, scanning the woods. Something's coming again. The sound grew clearer, a faint hum. "Not drones this time, but vehicles. Engines," Lara whispered. "Trucks." They hid behind the trees as two camouflaged trucks rolled slowly down the dirt path. Men sat in the back, armed, wearing insignias that didn't look official. No ranger marks, no conservation logos. Aiden watched silently. The men were scanning the ground, clearly following tracks. Lara whispered, "They're after her." "We can't let them take her," he nodded. "We go uphill." Dense trees will block their signal. They climbed fast, breath ragged, hearts pounding. The slope grew steeper, the mud slick beneath their boots. The baby elephant slipped again, but kept going, as if it knew instinctively that stopping meant danger. At the top, they found an old watchtower, half collapsed but still standing enough to provide cover. Aiden helped Lara and the calf inside. Dust and spider webs hung thick, but it was shelter. From the broken window, he could see the trucks below, parked now near the river. The men were unloading metal crates and nets. "They're setting a trap," he said. Lara stared at the valley, voice low. "For the mother." "Or the baby?" "Both," Aiden replied. They sat in silence for a moment. Then the baby elephant began to sway its trunk rhythmically, restless. Lara gently stroked its side. "She misses her mother." Aiden watched her carefully. "You've noticed how she reacts, haven't you? Every time we hear that low rumble from the forest, she calms down. Like she knows it's her." Lara nodded. "It's more than instinct. It's connection." He looked out the window again. The sun was higher now, lighting the distant treetops. "Then maybe that connection is our only chance." He turned back to Lara. "We'll find the mother before they do." She hesitated. "And if she attacks again?" Aiden's voice was steady. "We'll earn her trust. The way we earned the calves, down below." The men were setting up a large metallic structure, cages reinforced with bars, ropes and tranquilizer guns mounted on tripods. Lara watched them, horror creeping across her face. "They're building a transport cage." "They plan to take them alive." Aiden's eyes hardened. "Not if I can stop it." He reached into his bag, pulling out the last 2 tranquilizer darts and a small packet of explosives used for field demolitions, enough to destroy equipment, not harm lives. Lara shook her head. "Aiden, if you blow that, they'll hunt us harder." He met her gaze. "They already are." The baby elephant nudged his arm gently, as if sensing his decision. Aiden smiled faintly. "Don't worry, little one. I won't let them take you." He waited until the men gathered near the trucks, discussing something. Then he slipped down the hill, moving quietly between trees, his boots barely making a sound. From above, Lara watched, heart pounding. The baby elephant paced nervously beside her. Aiden reached the edge of the clearing, planted the small explosive beneath the largest cage, and armed the timer. As he turned to leave, he heard footsteps behind him. "Freeze!" A voice cold as steel. Aiden raised his hands slowly. A man stepped into view, tall, wearing a black vest marked with the faded emblem Anskarana Biologics. The man's face was lined, eyes sharp. "You've caused us trouble, Mr. Reed." Aiden froze. "You know my name?" The man smiled thinly. "We know everyone who crosses our project." "You took something that belongs to us," Aiden glared. "That calf isn't yours. It's property of the program," the man said calmly. "Do you have any idea how much it's worth?" "Years of genetic research," Aiden interrupted, voice rising. "You call that research? You tore them from their families. You turned them into lab animals." The man's smile faded. "You wouldn't understand." He raised his gun. "Step away from the device." Aiden didn't move. He stared back, breathing hard. "You should step back instead." The man frowned. "Why?" The explosion cut him off. Aiden had triggered it remotely. The ground shook, and the metallic cage behind them erupted in a burst of flame and smoke. Men shouted, diving for cover. Aiden ran, darting between trees as gunfire broke out behind him. From the watchtower, Lara saw the blast and gasped. "Aiden!" The baby elephant trumpeted loudly, panic rising. Moments later, Aiden emerged through the trees, limping but alive. He stumbled into the tower, coughing from the smoke. "We need to move now. They'll call reinforcements." Lara grabbed her pack. "Where to?" He pointed toward the west. "The cliffs. Once we reach them, the terrain's too rough for trucks." As they began to leave, a sound echoed through the forest again, low, powerful. Familiar, the mother elephant's call. The calf answered instantly, trumpeting back with all its strength. The sound traveled far, rolling like thunder across the trees. Aiden smiled faintly. "She's coming!" Lara looked at him. "Let's just hope she gets here before they do." Behind them, sirens from the trucks began to wail. The forest lit up with red flashes as men spread out once again, and somewhere between them and the open cliffs, the ground trembled. The reunion was coming, but so was something else. The forest slowly came alive again as the first light of dawn slipped through the thick canopy. Mist floated between the trees like drifting ghosts, softening the chaos that had unfolded hours earlier. Aidan stood beside the baby elephant, his shirt torn, his face streaked with dirt, but his eyes were calm now. The danger had passed. The fossas that once circled the calf had long disappeared into the wilderness, frightened off by the rescue team's persistence and the strange noise of the helicopter that hovered for a brief moment before leaving again. But something about the night stayed with them, an unspoken bond between man, animal, and survival. The baby elephant, now resting under the soft glow of morning, had stopped trembling. It leaned against Lara's arm as if sensing her safety. Its big brown eyes blinked slowly, exhausted, but no longer afraid. Lara whispered, "He's breathing normally again." "I think he trusts us now." Aidan nodded, crouching beside her. "We did what we could. But we still need to figure out where he came from, and that was the question haunting everyone. How did a baby elephant end up in Madagascar, a land that hadn't seen wild elephants for decades? Then, just as Aidan was about to stand, the radio on his shoulder crackled again. "Team Alpha, do you copy?" "Go ahead," he replied. "You're not going to believe this," the voice said. "Satellite visuals show a small herd moving near the river valley. And one of them, it looks like an adult elephant." Aidan's eyes widened. "Repeat that. An adult elephant. It's alive. We think it's the mother." Lara's eyes filled with tears. "She's alive? After all this time?" Without wasting a second, Aidan signaled the team to prepare. They loaded minimal supplies, wrapped the calf in a soft rescue blanket, and began their cautious trek toward the river valley. The forest seemed gentler now. The chirping of birds replaced the growls of predators. It felt as though the whole jungle was watching them, guiding them towards something sacred. Hours passed. The sun climbed higher, painting everything in gold. The baby elephant occasionally trumpeted, soft and short, as if calling out. Aidan noticed the pattern. Each sound echoed through the valley, bouncing off the trees. Then from the distance came an answer, a deep, powerful trumpet rolled through the forest like thunder. Everyone froze. Lara's hands trembled. "That's her!" The sound came again, louder, closer, full of emotion. The baby elephant lifted its trunk high and let out a cry that shook even the birds from their branches. Then it began to move faster, stumbling at first, then running with a surprising burst of strength. Aidan and Lara followed closely behind, and then, through the fog and sunlight, she appeared. A giant female elephant, her skin scarred and dusty, her eyes wide with desperate recognition. She moved forward slowly at first, then broke into a run, her footsteps shaking the ground beneath them. The calf rushed toward her, crying, squealing, trumpeting all at once. The two met in the center of the clearing, trunk to trunk, sound to sound, heart to heart. The mother wrapped her trunk around the baby in a trembling embrace, letting out a deep rumble that echoed across the valley. Everyone stood silent. Even the forest seemed to stop breathing. Lara wiped her tears quietly. "She never stopped searching," she whispered. Aidan smiled faintly, and he never stopped calling. For a long time, no one spoke. The mother and calf stood together, reunited under the golden light, surrounded by the same forest that had tried to take one and protect the other. Nature had tested them both, but now it was healing them. Aidan slowly turned toward his team. "We'll give them space. This is their moment." They backed away, leaving the elephants together. As they walked toward the trail that led to their base camp, the sound of the reunion faded behind them. Soft rumbles, rustling leaves, and the rhythm of a bond stronger than fear. When they reached the open clearing, Lara stopped and looked back one last time. The two elephants stood together at the edge of the water, the mother guiding her calf gently, teaching it how to drink. Aidan took a deep breath. "You know," he said quietly, "we came here thinking we were rescuing him. But maybe he rescued us." Lara looked at him curiously. "How so?" he smiled. Because for one night in all this darkness, that little one reminded us why we do this, why we fight for them, why every life, no matter how small, matters. Lara nodded, her eyes soft. Yeah, maybe that's what the world needs to remember. They stood there for a while, listening to the calls of the forest, the whisper of life continuing, the quiet promise of tomorrow, and as the sun sank behind the trees, painting the sky in orange and pink, the baby elephant lifted its trunk again, letting out one final trumpet, not of fear this time, but of freedom. The sound echoed far, reaching the hills, the rivers, and maybe even the hearts of those who would one day hear this story. Moral lesson: in the wild and in life, survival isn't just about strength. It's about connection. Every creature, no matter how small or lost, carries a voice that deserves to be heard. When humans choose compassion over fear, nature answers back with miracles. Because saving one life may not change the whole world, but it can change one world forever.